Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why Tom Brady's latest decision could have an impact on the Patriots' season.
And I'm Colin Kaepernick, and I'll tell you why tonight's not only a must-win for LeBron, but the city of Cleveland. Speak for yourself on a Monday starts right now.
The city of Cleveland.
Their economy is on the brink.
The Cleveland Indians? All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by a couple of NBA champions, Caron Butler and Eddie House. Let's start at Oracle Arena, where Steph Curry reminded everybody it was his house last night, dropping 35 points en route to a 41-point blowout of the Rockets, who got terrible performances out of James Harden and Chris Paul. After the game, Steph sounded happy to be back on track.
Obviously, it felt good, and you want to, use that energy to, show your teammates that you're here, you're with them, and get the crowd into it. But it's one game, and you got to have that same type of energy and intentions and focus in the next game and the right approach. So, did my job tonight. Got to do it again.
D'Antoni described this performance as a team as soft was the word that he used. What's your reaction to that, and how does that happen in a game of this magnitude?
He's right. We weren't as aggressive as we needed to be. We started off the game pretty solid, and then we let them gain some confidence to end the first quarter. But just defensively, they didn't feel us, balls, and it showed tonight.
All right, Cowherd, were you more impressed with Steph or disappointed in the Rockets' superstars?
Rockets, primarily James Harden. If you give me 2 years of data, it's no longer an opinion. If you do something for a year and I see it, and then you do it a second year and I see it, now that's a situation. James Harden goes into these playoffs, and in the playoffs, refs let physicality reign. They don't call as much. And Westbrook, who's intense, it drives him crazy. Harden, who's kind of passive and kind of chill, he checks out. This is 2 years in a row now where James Harden looks like the best player in the league in the regular season, and I watch him in the postseason, and I'm like, oh, he's checking out a lot. This is now a trend. I've got, 5, 7, 10, 14 games. It's not going to change. Refs are not going to suddenly start calling everything in the playoffs. You and I have watched this league for 4 decades.
Can't dispute what you're saying, but as a basketball fan, I was more impressed with Steph Curry. 11 of 13 in the second half. Got the shimmy going. That's the Steph Curry that plays like that, and there's no answer for Golden State. And so that was my takeaway. I was more caught up in Steph Curry's second half. And I know the game was over by the time he took it over to some degree because they took care of him in the first half. But to see Steph Curry playing like that again makes me think, man, Golden State is going to be very hard to beat.
Because I think, when Steph made that shot, the first 3 in the third quarter, I think that the momentum of the series changed. It shifted immediately. Because now when you get that guy making shots, not just being a shot taker, but a shot maker, in these moments, he's the X factor. You was able to slow him down for so long, and now with Kevin Durant, with Draymond Green, playing the point forward, bringing the ball up, exhausting his options, and he's having shooters spread the floor, the shimmy, he's feeling it. It's going to be hell to tell the captain going forward.
I was more disappointed with the Rockets stars and the way they play, because when you look at it, you expect James Harden to do what he does offensively. We know that. He's the leader of the team. But in the playoffs, you have to ramp it up everything. And what he is not doing is playing defense. It's too easy. They were trying to expose Steph yesterday. They end up exposing James Harden at the end of the game. And James Harden was the one getting put in pick and roll. James Harden was the one that was getting ISO, Steph going right around him. Sean Livingston with the quick in and out around the back to the dunk, and nobody else paying attention. I think teams, when you have a leader on your team, they go as the leader goes, like what LeBron did in Game 3. He came out and set the tone defensively instantly, and it seemed like it raised everybody's level up and their awareness on the defensive end. And one thing Caron, good defense leads to good offense at most times. If you're engaged defensively, most of the times you'll be engaged offensively as well. you don't try to get going offensively if you're not engaged defensively. And I think that helped Steph as well. He had to be engaged because they were going at him. He was definitely like the weak link. And eventually, all he needs to do is see one go down because he's a shooter. Trust me, I know. I'm a shooter as well. Once you see that one go down, that's it.
Worry.
But you know,
No, I still am. I go out there, I'll shoot a lot of these cats.
You don't need your limbs to shoot.
But when I said this
look at the
last
wrist.
week, and when I said this, you kind of guys all rolled your eyes. You don't see a little Westbrook and Harden that literally, man, there's the regular season Westbrook and Harden. You're like best player in the league.
Jason, would you talk?
By the way,
How did
you don't see that.
This?
Here go.
You don't see a little bit of that.
Westbrook
Grab it out
in
there.
his
Where's your
throat,
magic
like,
hat at?
What are you?
Somebody have me
But you
magic
didn't
before.
see both of these ball-centric guards, when the game is officiated different, it does not affect Jason Tatum, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. They don't change, Jason. Westbrook and Harden fundamentally, emotionally change in these playoffs.
I'm not going to let him do that. I'm not going to let
You
him
don't
do that
see
because
that?
no, I don't see it because one thing that we know about Russ, he's not going to be out there a liability defensively. He is going to be playing extremely
Facts.
hard, and that
We're
helps
talking about
your
Harden,
team.
though. Tell
Okay,
me about
I know,
Harden.
Okay,
but
but you're-
he said he compared
I
them
got
to.
you.
But
so
I-
I'm saying, and Harden has had lackluster efforts defensively. Again, you just said after you see it twice, then you know this is a situation.
Right.
It was not this series, and it's not the series before. It was even to last year. The same thing, like, hey, man, where's he playing?
If you
And
ran
all this
Houston,
year.
you wouldn't be concerned with what you're
No,
seeing?
you're concerned, but it's a league that is in love with the three and the shooting and the scoring. And so Harden works during the regular season, and it makes you think he's going to produce in the postseason. I don't – listen, my problem is with D'Antoni and holding this team accountable and getting in their face. We were talking before the show started. I thought Eddie made a perfect point. After the game, he's talking about how soft they played. It's a reflection of his coaching. Again, the team looks just like D'Antoni to me, soft. But I'll just say again, Steph Curry. I was someone last week talking about weak link. They're exploiting him on the defensive end. He's not shooting well. That's why I was impressed because I think Steph heard the chirping and answered all the questions.
You'll never see someone pick on Russell Westbrook on the defensive end of the floor or say he's not competing. And once again, you'll never see someone use that phrase in the same breath talking about Russell Westbrook. Soft. Never.
This time of year brings us two things, graduations and Father's Day, and the gifts that go along with them. Before you buy Dad another tie or that grad a balloon that will probably float away, ask yourself this. Does my dad or grad like wings or sports, or better yet, both? If the answer is yes, then get them a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. Right now, if you purchase $30 worth or more in-store or online, they'll give you a $5 bonus to keep for yourself. That's a gift that gives back. How generous of you. Buffalo Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, to the east, where LeBron and the Cavs stopped the bleeding after two really lackluster games in Boston. Getting back into the series, they hit threes, 30-point blowout over the Celtics on Saturday. Can they do it again? After the game, Jaylen Brown called the loss embarrassing. Terry Rozier said it might actually be a good thing for the Celtics.
Look over the film, go back, see all the mistakes we made, and how can we correct them. We needed to get our butts whipped, come back to reality and take care of business on Monday.
All right, who's it bigger for tonight, Celtics, Cavs?
I think it's bigger for the Celtics. And, you know, I get teased a lot on this show by you that I'm always anti-LeBron. I'm actually pro-LeBron, and that's why I think this game is more important for the Celtics. I'd never count LeBron out, ever. He's one of the greatest survivors going from childhood all the way through his NBA career that you'll ever see in sports. Until someone wins a fourth game, I never count LeBron out. I've seen LeBron get down and destroy teams mentally, physically, emotionally, every way possible in a Game 4 situation like tonight. If LeBron takes them out tonight and evens this series up 2-2, I think it's a wrap.
What
for the
happens
Celtics.
if Boston wins tonight? Okay,
It's 3-1. LeBron's been there before.
I think LeBron James will emotionally check out.
No.
LeBron's a blamer. He's a blamer.
He quit once. He's not really a quitter. He quit
No,
once.
I'm not saying a quitter. He is a blamer.
He didn't show up once. I wouldn't say he quit.
Well, but
that
when he left Cleveland the first time, when he left Cleveland the first time, Dan Gilbert said he quit on us.
Yeah.
When he left Miami, Pat Riley, it's been published, there was an article where Pat Riley said he walked into our office and I could tell he'd made up his mind. So both times he left, he made up his mind before it went public. He goes down 3-1 tonight. With that roster, those contracts, no team options, I think they're done. I think LeBron's done emotionally in Cleveland with a loss tonight.
Not till they lose game 4.
I think it depends on how they will lose. If they lose this game close and the guys show up, then I don't think it's that big of a deal for LeBron. He wouldn't check out like that if it's a close game. But I think it's more important for the Celtics. For this reason, they're a young team. They've been struggling on the road. To win a championship, you have to win on the road. And they want to get this monkey off their back. They have a great coach, but the coach can only do so much. He puts you in position to be successful like he has all season. They have to go out and carry out their job. And I think we will see the maturation process evolving right in front of our face with this young team. You asking a 19, 20-year-old Jason Tatum to be the catalyst of your offense. You throwing the ball to him, ISO on him. You asking Jaylen Brown to give you money. He's a 20-year-old, second-year player, third-year player in the league. Terry Rozier, he's giving quality minutes. And then you have Al Horford, the anchor on the defense. It's more important to the C's because if they lose this game, I think it's going to be pretty this could be the determining game of this series. They lose this game, I think LeBron feels like the ball's in his court, and he's the best player on the planet, and they're going to get it done.
I think you look at the post game of the C's and the young guys, it's the tale of the tape. And what was important for me taking from that was they all was inspired, like we can be better. Like they're challenging themselves, like, you know what, we have to be better come game 4. They understand the sense of urgency. They understand that they play extremely well at home, but they got to be able to turn it on the road. And they got to manufacture that energy. They got to have the right disposition and the mindset coming into game 4. And I think they will. You know, it's the most important thing for them on the defensive end to try to slow down LeBron James because he's going to go for a monster night tonight.
Who's it more important to? Who's the must-win game tonight?
I think it's for the C's, you know, because they're a young club. You know, you get that momentum in Cleveland's favor going, you know, get a home win. That's 2-2. Now going back, LeBron smells it. Look, all I need 2 more wins.
Who's got the better coach?
Boston.
See, Lou ain't that bad of a I don't know why.
How can you go there, though?
That's not a controversial statement.
He's a champion.
I'm saying, but you can't knock it like he's
Still
not, like
it's
like head and shoulders. He's not head and shoulders above
He's
Lou.
the better coach.
He's not head and shoulders, though. I think Brad Seaman
Did
is
you ask head and
right
shoulders?
now.
Or did you say who's the better coach?
Time out. Who's
the better player, LeBron or KD?
Time out. I'm asking the question.
That ain't even a
It's
question.
right there. Some people think it's right there.
It's not
Who's
even
the better
close.
coach?
Close enough.
Yeah.
Who's the better defense? Who's got home court in Game 7? You can't go down 3-1 and win this series.
Well, you know what? He did it in the finals.
He went down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors.
In the finals.
Against better, you know, comp.
Kyrie was on his team. He had a second.
They don't have one of the.
Finisher.
They don't have a Steph. The Boston does not have a Steph. They don't have a Clay. They don't have a Draymond Green.
They don't have
there.
LeBron James. And
Don't be sick tomorrow on the show because you're going to have to.
No. Listen, Colin. As great as Kyrie was in that series, it was LeBron James. That was the bear that got poked and tricked Draymond Green into doing something stupid. LeBron's very savvy, man. I'm telling you, if the Celtics let this thing get tied up 2-2, they're going to bring out something in LeBron that they won't be able to put back in that toothpaste bottle, and it's going to be curved.
I want to see how the energy that the Celtics have when they come out. That's going to be the telltale sign to me because they haven't had the same. They haven't been able to harness that energy that they have
on the road,
at home, and bring it on the road. And that's one thing that worries me because they're young. It's not like they're an old veteran team that they can't find the energy. They're a young team. They should be able to find it every time.
Welcome back. Joined now by a former Pro Bowler, P.J. Hushmanzada, who has the longest name yet easiest to pronounce for me. I have no idea why that is. And the founder of the big lead, Jason McIntyre. Now that name I struggle with. Let's move to New England, where Tom Brady's behavior continues to surprise people, with a quarterback reportedly not showing up for the start of the Patriots' voluntary OTAs today. Now Brady has already skipped the team's voluntary workouts, but he's never been absent this late into the team's off-season workout program. Whitlock, will this have any impact on the Patriots' season?
Yeah. Again, once Tom Brady breaks the chain and the cycle that's always been there year after year with the Patriots, and that's what he's doing by avoiding OTAs, of course, it's a message to the other 52 guys on the roster, and at this point, 75, 80 guys on the roster, that Tom's is not as pro-Belichick and the Belichick way as he had been previously. Of course it's going to have some impact.
I don't think it will, and here's why. Think about Uber. For 2 years, nothing but bad PR. They haven't had a bit of good PR in 2 years. But they have such a lead on their industry. It's why billionaires can make a lot of screwy investments. It would be different if the Jets weren't starting a rookie, and the Bills weren't starting a rookie, and the Dolphins weren't totally dysfunctional. But the gap for New England, they can make a lot of fundamental errors. They can whiff on a first-round pick.
Pretty good.
They can let somebody go.
You've done some good analogies. This is one of your best. Bill Belichick is now an Uber driver. I've never heard of
An Uber driver, not even the owner.
I just think their lead is so great, they can make a bunch of mistakes.
Hey, Whitlock, remind me, does the season start next month?
No,
I've lost track of the NFL calendar. Okay.
Starts in a few months.
So it's 4 months away. So next month is mandatory minicamp when Tom has to show up. And this idea that he maybe is drinking sodas all summer and sitting on the couch with Twinkies and bonbons. Come on, man. This guy takes care of himself like nobody's business. The idea that he's not working out and going to be prepared and fine is laughable. No problems in Patriot land.
It's about a tone.
There's a problem. When these workouts are voluntary, mandatory. Everybody will tell you, they're voluntary. You don't show up, your coach is going to call you, why aren't you here? They're going to make a big deal about it. Publicly, oh, it's not a big deal. Privately, it's a huge deal. He's gone every single year. They ask him, oh, do you feel appreciated by New England? I plead the fifth. That means, no, I don't feel appreciated. And so this is his way of saying, you got to show me that you appreciate me. We should have won a Super Bowl, but you didn't want to play Malcolm Butler. You got to explain to us why. Tell me why. What did he do?
Okay, now
why?
I agree with you. But does it translate to W's and L's?
Well, let me quote an authority, a respected authority on this, Tom Brady. In 2013, here's what Tom Brady had to say about voluntary workouts, OTAs. You think, God, it's just another OTA in the springtime, and it's not that important. And all those things that could probably enter your mind. But the truth is, this lays the foundation for the start of training camp. If you have a good training camp, it usually means a good start to the season. And a good start to the season leads to a good position entering the second half of the season, which leads to a good playoff. So everything ends up having some significance to it.
It just doesn't matter this year, though.
No, I'm not saying, again, I believe it matters. I just think it's the weakest division easily in football. Listen, there's the possibility the Jets and the Bills will start rookie quarterbacks, and the Dolphins have been chaotic for a decade. They can Nick Saban can make a lot of mistakes. He's still winning the SEC.
Look, we're going to get into this at the end of the show. But are you not watching what's going on in sports? Crazy things happen. The Vegas Golden Knights, an expansion team, are playing for the Stanley Cup. You're telling me that something crazy couldn't happen with one of these AFC East teams, particularly if the Patriots start leaking oil? Would it be more preposterous for the Jets or the Dolphins to somehow unseat the Patriots, or for the Knights to be playing?
You're talking about crazy things in sports. You know what's crazy? Tom Brady at 40 winning an MVP award. Still at the top of his game. Again, 3 months to the season, Whit. 3 months. You don't think they're going to patch things up?
Let me ask TJ this. Let's just say, because my theory is, Belichick and Tom Brady are strained. But you've been in a lot of locker rooms, TJ. Quarterbacks, Marino, Elway, they've struggled with coaches. What if Belichick and Brady just don't see eye to eye? They can still win.
And that's fine. They don't have to get along to win because Belichick is a defensive guy, so Brady doesn't interact with him as much as he would an offensive head coach. Right. But why are we talking about the Patriots winning the division? They aspire for things higher than that. Winning the division, so what that the Bills and the Dolphins and the Jets are? They got to compete with the Steelers, the Ravens, and all the better teams in the AFC. They're looking beyond their division. It's not about winning their division. We consider that to be a foregone conclusion that the Patriots are going to win the division. You need to talk about the better teams. When they play the Steelers, is this going to come back to bite him in the butt that he's not there with his guys?
All right, welcome back. TJ Houshmandzadeh and Jason McIntyre are back. Let's move to Canada, where Johnny Manziel made his return to professional football yesterday, showing up at training camp a day after signing a 2-year deal with the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats. Manziel's been out of football for 2 seasons after flaming out in legendary fashion. Cowherd, will playing in Canada lead Johnny back to the NFL?
No, but I like what he's doing. He wants the ball. It's sending a message. Hey, I'm into football. I want to play football. But I always thought Johnny Manziel was just a great college player. TJ Houshmandzadeh had a couple players on his teams at Oregon State. Ken Simonton, running back, was a great college player. Oregon had a player named Keenan Howery.
One of the Alamitos High School.
One of the great players, returners. Some guys, Jason, they're just great college players. He's a small look at the size of him. He didn't have the shoulders. He's smaller than his head coach in Canada. He is a great college player from a very good offensive coach, Kevin Sumlin.
I think June Jones is their coach here.
Yes.
I think. And June Jones has plenty of NFL experience, knows quarterbacks well. I'm not ready to write Johnny off. It's a long shot. It may take 2 years. I've read some scouts that are saying, look, he needs to keep his nose clean for 2 years, not get any trouble, and then he has a chance to come back. I'm not going to write him off. He's a young person. He showed some talent in college football that made someone draft him in the first round, or made the Browns draft him in the first round. I'm not ready to give up. I do respect the move. I get tired of hearing from players, oh, I just want to play football so bad, blah, blah. But they're not willing to go to Canada and show people that, like, football's most important. I applaud Johnny.
Yeah, imagine getting married, which Johnny Football did a couple months ago, and telling your wife, we're going to the bustling metropolis that is Hamilton, Canada. We're moving there, and I'm going to try to play football. I mean, Johnny's at the spot where I would be more impressed if he held a clipboard and didn't say a darn word for 6 months, instead of winning MVP in the CFL. Just show that you're a professional. You can show up and toe the line and not off the field, on the field, locker room. Just, first in, last out kind of deal. And if he can do that for a season, then maybe an NFL team will say, yeah, we'll take a look at him in camp.
But the way these contracts in Canada work, it's a 2-year contract. He's going to be there a minimum of 2 years. What I would have liked to seen is getting one of these spring leagues that's starting up next year. They're going to have training camp early January, February. It's the AAF. Mike March should be a head coach of one. Brad Childress a head coach of one. Rick Neuheisel. I would have preferred him to get in that environment. They're going to play 8 to 10 games per year.
That's all the way next year.
He's not going to play this year. Where he's at now, Jeremiah Masoli is a quarterback from Oregon.
Yeah.
He can play. It's no guarantee. Manziel, you got to adjust. The field is wider, it's bigger. Guys, it's a different game in Canada.
It is.
It's a different game, so he's going to have to learn that. And he's going to try to beat out a guy that's been playing in it and has already had success. It's going to be it's going to be tough for him.
That's why I think it's less about the actual football and just being a professional. I mean, he was getting in trouble and oversleeping and, partying hard.
I mean, if he can't do that, he don't deserve to play anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
If I can't get you to do the right things, you don't deserve to play. I don't even want you. That should be the easy part.
Well, that's my point always with him. Certain player, Russell Wilson's DNA, that's a quarterback. That's a grown-up. Andrew Luck's DNA, he's boring. It's a quarterback. Johnny Manziel's DNA, he grew up with money. He's a party boy. He was a frat boy. He's not a guy I'm going to give $1 billion franchise to.
I get it, but let's not forget what was in Kurt Warner's DNA. He was a grocery bagger.
But a good one. And responsible. He was the best leader in that group of guys doing that.
No question. But my point is, there have been more improbable comeback stories than what Johnny Manziel is attempting. Kurt Warner, when he came out of college, I think he played at Northern Iowa or something like that, no one wanted him. Johnny Manziel was coveted, won a Heisman Trophy. It would not be unprecedented for him to go to Canada, have some success. Look, people get hurt in Canada, too. Mazzola or whoever the starting quarterback is could go down. Manziel could come in and play well for a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. He's not going to be I don't remember. Wasn't Kurt Warner was like 29 when he got
his talent,
back to the NFL?
He has a talent to play in it. You don't run through Alabama the way he did and not have the talent
hold on,
to play.
TJ, I got to stop you there, though. We saw him 14 games in the NFL. He was very bad at quarterback. Like, he came in, I know it was the Browns.
The team that he played with, since since he's gone and been out the NFL, what have they done?
They've done nothing.
So was it
Yeah,
him?
but Tim Tebow was a great college player. He couldn't throw a lick in the NFL. Some guys are great college guys.
Manziel's a better thrower of the football than Tim Tebow. He's a better thrower.
But he's tiny.
Yeah.
He's small. You are significantly bigger than him. Shouldn't he have a...
Drew Brees, is it?
Oh, Drew Brees.
Bingo.
Oh, good
Professional
Lord.
from the jump.
He's a 5,000-yard-a-game quarterback.
We're talking about the size.
To another quarterback who's been out of the game for a while, Colin Kaepernick, according to Pro Football Talk, Kaepernick's collusion case against the NFL has turned up internal documents and testimony that indicate multiple teams viewed the still unemployed Kaepernick as a starting quarterback. Whitlock, is this proof Kaepernick belongs in the NFL?
No. There's plenty of documents at the end of Terrell Owens' career that would indicate he could still have started in the NFL when the NFL washed their hands of him. We're acting like Colin Kaepernick is the only player in the history of the National Football League who's had the talent to play in the NFL that the NFL, will pass. It happens all the time. You know what? Des Bryant has the talent to play in the NFL and be a number 2 or 3 receiver. He has the talent to be a star. No one's signing him. This goes on constantly in the NFL. My friend that I grew up, Jeff George, when the NFL got done with him, he could still play and start for a lot of teams. It's not unprecedented. It's not proof of anything other than Mike Florio and Pro Football Talk are too close to Kaepernick's lawyers. And so they keep pumping out their material without any pushback, without any perspective of what has really gone on in professional sports since the beginning of time. All kinds of guys are talented enough to do this and that, but they don't get the shot.
Well, that's why Kaepernick, to me, has always been an employment story. Is Aaron Rodgers could take a knee, he'd be in the game. Russell Wilson could take a knee, could be in the game. Malcolm Jenkins is political, he's still in the game. Michael Bennett's political. The Patriots and the Eagles said, we want you. Great players have always been able to voice their opinion, to create distractions. Once you're a marginal employee at this company, in the NFL, in the NBA, at IBM, you have less leeway. And I always looked at Kaepernick as, yeah, he's better than about 4 of the starters, 20 of the backups, but you wear those socks at practice. Yep. You wear a Castro shirt in Miami. Your girlfriend calls the Ravens owner a slave owner. Well, that's going to reduce the chances of I don't think anybody thinks he's a great quarterback. It's just about employment. Once you're marginal, you don't have any leverage.
Nobody will be considered a great quarterback when you only play 6 years in the league. Nobody's going, he's a great quarterback at his 6th year. You make the comparison with T.O. T.O. had played 15 years in the league. He got 15 in his divisiveness.
Still wanted to play.
He can still play right now. Now, I'll say that now. He can still play. But when you are divisive in the locker room, they don't want to deal. When they start talking about your personality over your production, that's when it becomes a problem. That's what's happening with Des Bryant right now. All he did, Kaepernick, with Harbaugh as his head coach, he was 25-14. He should be on an NFL roster.
Harbaugh's at Michigan now.
Since when
what
he
other
had
coach.
And my whole point is Harbaugh utilized him to the best of his abilities. He got the most out of Kaepernick. Since then, that has not been the case. Will he ever get a chance to play in the NFL again? I would probably say no. Should he be? Yes, he should be given that right because his talent warrants that. If you look at quarterbacks in the NFL, I can name.
He's not in the league.
But T.O. got 15 years in.
Yeah, but think of your career. When I covered you were never the fastest, okay? But part of the attraction for you was you were coachable, worked hard, grown up, leader, responsible. That was part of the package. The idea that it's just, by the way, you played college football with Ocho. Ocho was good enough in the end. People didn't think he was coachable, wouldn't learn a playbook, wouldn't run the routes. Part of the package for a football player is TJ's tough.
Especially a quarterback. I mean, a quarterback, you have to.
You are the face of the franchise.
Yes.
You're the number one guy. Listen, so we're always hiring college graduates at the Big Lead, the website I run. And we talk about it internally. Hey, simply being qualified to write about sports and talk, that's not enough now. You need to be diverse. You need to be able to play well with others. Can you do a podcast? Are you good on social media? Can you go on videos? It's no different than an NFL quarterback. You want a guy who's going to come in, take orders from the coach, fall in line, be a leader in the huddle. And frankly, as you've been saying for months, I don't know that Kaepernick's that guy.
I just think that it's not remotely unprecedented. There will be 100 guys or 50 guys good enough to play in the NFL who won't be on an NFL roster this year. That's not the standard. They think they've proven something. Oh, my God, there's teams that think Kaepernick's a starter. Therefore, this proves conclusion. No, it doesn't. It proves that Kaepernick drives ticket holders to call a franchise and complain. If you piss off the customer base...
That goes both ways, though, because some people are going to complain, and there's going to be a lot of people that say, we're glad he's on the team,
and
we're
then
going to
there
come
are
out.
some people that don't provoke any response.
True.
And the NFL would prefer the only response they want is TV ratings and ticket holders. They don't want the irate calls. If you provoke too many of them...
If speaking about politics truly created collusion, how's Michael Bennett on the World Champs? How's Malcolm Jenkins on the World Champs? How's Chris Long? Philadelphia's got 3 political players.
The biggest difference is he's a quarterback, and you just have to conduct yourself differently. You got to operate differently. You got to walk differently. And
if you know it, why doesn't Colin Kaepernick know it?
He knows it now.
Welcome back to Ron Butler, Eddie House here. Let's return to the association. Reportedly, the Lakers, this is interesting, have been telling other teams none of their players, including Lonzo Ball, are untouchable in trade talks. Less than a year ago, Magic Johnson was hanging Lonzo's jersey from the Raptors, but after an up-and-down rookie year and a year's worth of LeVar, Lakers appear to be potentially moving on. Whitlock, you think they'd actually trade Lonzo?
Did they trade D'Angelo Russell?
Yeah.
Wasn't he the number 2 pick or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. This looks like this is all over again, just a taller, light-skinned version of D'Angelo Russell with a loudmouth father who's a problem. And the story should have been no one's untouchable. The story should have been Lakers want to trade Lonzo Ball. They want out of the ball business. The Ball's family running their mouth about LiAngelo being on this team. Lakers are ready to wash their hands, and I don't blame them.
I thought in our business there's something called a plant when you plant a story. This was Magic planting a story in the LA Times telling LeBron, we'll do anything you want. We'll get rid of Lonzo, Brandon Kuzma. That felt like an advertisement. You know, some people are putting up billboards in Philadelphia. This was the billboard. Don't think we're tied to any of these guys, LeBron. We'll do whatever you and your agent want.
But is anybody shocked by this? Look, LeBron is on the brink of anything happening in this series. It's wide open. And you want it to be fresh in his memory. The second it happened, whatever it is, look, woohoo, over here.
Yes.
Like, come here.
That's a really good point.
Whatever you want, it's have it your way. And it's a welcoming sign. So
they plant that thing
it's
right before Boston could go up 3-1.
Well, I think anybody can get traded as well as because right now they got room to bring in some quality superstars. And that's the only way you trade a guy like Lonzo Ball is if you're trying to win right now, you're not trading for another youthful player. You know, you got, 10-7-7 as a rookie, that can only get better. His shot can only get better.
Oh, it can only get better?
Yeah.
You've never seen anyone back up?
No, 10-7-7, he's not even shooting well. You talked about how bad his shot is. That's the one thing you know that you can work on, that you can get your shot better. We've seen guys, Bruce Bowen, not be able to hit the broadside of a barn, but all of a sudden be a knockdown shooter in the corner for San Antonio. So his shot could get better. If you're moving him to get...
You've seen a shot like that.
I've seen Bill Cartwright shoot like that. I've seen Sean Marion shoot.
Jay, it can't get worse.
Now, that's fair.
That's what he's saying. So he's building them up, saying it can't get worse than what it is.
Sean Marion had a funny-looking shot, but it went in. You know what I mean? You played with him. I played with him. But if you're trying to trade him to get another young player to add with a couple superstars, I wouldn't do it that way. I'm not ready to give up on him in that sense. But if I'm able to just clear house, get a LeBron, and bring a couple other guys with him, and able to win right now, which is going to be hard to do in the Western Conference because you still got to go through Golden State. I think that's something that you have to, entertain.
I think, Jason, your point is I see it as a message to LeBron. It's quite possibly a message to LeVar. LeVar's back in the country. It's like, just know.
I think it's to all of them. Lonzo, LeVar, LiAngelo, and LaMelo. and anybody else
And everybody else
that's
on
down
that
with the Ball
roster.
family.
Yeah.
No.
I think everybody else on that roster.
This is a message to the Balls.
No, I think
in
you're
my
right.
opinion. The whole Lithuania thing blew up in their face.
It did.
The story has been told on LeVar. It went up and it's exploded. It's the Hindenburg, it's the Titanic, it's everything. And Magic wants off that boat, and I don't blame him. Again, and he'll throw Lonzo overboard to get off that boat.
It's nothing but a positive for the Lakers either way because, okay, say if that is the case and you clear house, you still got LeBron and another star and some other things, and then you build out. Or you have a young group of guys that been inspired by what's been said, and they're going to get better in the offseason, so they're ready for the moment next year. Lakers make the playoffs. So it's a win-win for the Lakers no matter what.
If I'm Kuzma, I'm like, trade me. I would dare you to trade me if I was Kuzma. I think they're talking about
better
Lonzo
not,
and nobody else.
Be careful what you wish for. You talking about trade me, and you be out of here before you know it.
There's better places than the Lakers. Let's move to the conference finals, where this weekend we saw some huge blowouts with Cleveland winning by 30 and Golden State by 41, which is about par for the course in these series. With the average margin of victory in this round about double what it was in rounds 1 and 2, and the closest game decided by 13 points. Cowherd, all these blowouts, bad luck for the NBA?
They are. It's not hurting ratings. But I think if you're a commissioner, you have to sit there and go, the reason you're a commissioner is you see bad before it happens. Roger Goodell, you always criticize, didn't get ahead of the kneeling story.
Yeah.
Like if you're Adam Silver, you got to look at this and think, fellas, we got a problem here. These games are getting really uncompetitive. 67% of the Warrior games in the last 4 years in the playoffs have been blowouts. That's the team that's on TV the longest because they're in the finals. I think the league is now beholden to three-point shots. And it's just what happens. Games are not only decided by 18, they're over 9 minutes in because once you get down 12, you feel your only way to get back in it is jack up threes.
They've overdosed on the three-pointer.
They have.
And it's made the league uncompetitive. And then all of a sudden, you got Mike D'Antoni appropriately pointing out, we played soft, we didn't compete, our effort wasn't there. You got Boston, a well-coached team. We played soft, our effort wasn't there, we blah, blah. It's because of the three-pointer. Everybody's overdosed on it, and then if it's not going your way, your emotion goes down, your defensive energy goes down, and you got a bad game out there. And yes, the NBA needs to look at this. Maybe they're too reliant on the three-pointer.
Or move the line out.
There you go.
Make it harder.
Yes, Eddie.
I wouldn't move the line out.
Oh, yeah, of course, a shooter.
No, I wouldn't. It doesn't matter where you put that line. I'm gonna knock it down anyway. But I just. But really, as a fan, I hate it. I hate watching these games have to sit through it because you want to see better competition.
Yes.
I played in playoff games, and some of them were grinds. We were supposed to blow teams out, but they had pride. They're a professional team. They made the playoffs, and they made it a little tough. But for the league, I don't think they're too worried about it because they got what they want. The ratings are up, and it's star power. Nobody wanted to see Milwaukee versus Boston. There's no star power there. And so the narrative is being controlled kind of by the NBA. The Rockets versus the Warriors. Everybody wanted to see that. So the ratings are up. That's good for business of basketball. They want to see, can LeBron get beat by the great coach and no star player? That's a narrative. So everybody's tuned in on it. So I think the league is not worried about it by that way because the business of basketball is growing right now.
Stepped-on product out there. Did you watch The Wire? They keep putting that bad product out there. Didn't matter how many times they renamed it, it was bad product. And they went over to Prop Joe on the east side.
You know what? Look, you look at the product that is out there, and it's still intriguing to watch. Because at the end of the day, we all know what it's going to be. Golden State is going to be in the finals against somebody out the Eastern Conference, usually LeBron-led team, and we know the end result already. The Warriors hold up the trophy.
That's not good.
It's
and
not
eventually,
good, but it's
that's
still
going
what
to
ifs.
lead to
It's a
problems.
ton of what
to your
ifs.
point, though, about the too many three-point shots, what happens is this is a copycat league. You know, most leagues are copycat leagues. Whoever won, they're trying to construct their team to be like that. The Warriors are a team that can knock down threes, but they forget how they move the ball. They're not just a one-trick pony, threes or layups, and that's it. And that's how Houston has constructed their team. And we also can blame these analytic guys for jumping into the game and constructing these teams to be strictly three-point shooters or finish at the rim. No mid-range game, and nobody else with any substance to their game because they can't get off in the mid-range.
To Eddie's point, Houston, if they lose in 5, it does, even as an analyst, an analytic guy, go, you know, the mid-range jumper is not the world's worst thing. Because right now, the Warriors are a great mid-range jump shooting team.
KD's killing them.
No.
Killing them.
So I think you're right. We overreact. Let's have no huddles. Let's make the game as fast as we can. And Nick Saban says, I'm going to slow it down a little and wins. I think in the end, the three-point shot will thrive. But I do feel the Warriors are sending a message. You can hit twos and dominate this league.
Welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Las Vegas, where the Golden Knights won again last night and will now advance to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first season in existence. Cowherd, you're a Vegas guy. Is this the most improbable sports story ever?
It's way up there. And you know what's interesting? They have a ton of future draft picks, a stockpile of them, and they'll have the 4th most cap space. So it's not a fluke. It's not like it's a one and done. You start looking at that expansion draft, which looked like the Country Music Awards when I remember watching it and thinking, this is a great show. I wish I knew who these guys were. They nailed it. This is going to last. They have money and stockpile of young draft picks.
I think it's more than talent here. I think the emotion of Las Vegas and that city and the whole Vegas Strong movement after that massacre at Mandalay Bay, this is the magic of sports. I watched every drop of this game yesterday. I was on the treadmill, and that's what I watched, and that's what kept me on the treadmill. They were so dominant. There was never a doubt. It was 1-1, I think, after the first period. But they were so dominant, I was like, oh, my God, they're going to win this thing. Their goalie's playing lights out. They were so dominant, had more shots on goal than the Jets. I just think this whole Vegas Strong deal is playing a role in this. The emotion of that city is living through that team.
Well, I mean, we've watched the NBA playoffs. Haven't we often felt, Jason, the team that cares more wins?
Yeah.
We do have. We've seen the Red Sox do this. That when you find these teams that have something beyond themselves and they bring a passion every night, I mean, they're not having trouble in these games. They're not having off nights. They have 4 good lines. They don't have off nights. Swept one team, 5 in that series.
We were having a debate, and I know yesterday people were talking about Leicester City and winning the EPL. But to me, they have been in the EPL, the soccer league, for 100 years. And yeah, they've been a laughingstock and a dog, and there were longer odds for them to win the EPL. This, to me, the only thing I can compare it to is the miracle on ice with the U.S. Olympic hockey team beating the Russians.
But that was just 2 hours. This is 6 months.
I agree. I still think, to me, that, and maybe it was Al Michaels' call that just lives with me, and I remember that moment as a kid, watching it on little black and white TV. But this is an improbable story.
It's been by the way, a great story for hockey.
Yeah.
I was in an airport yesterday. Hockey, not the NBA, was everywhere.